Oi, 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 alright, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you, this is Doodle Review, a channel that's about all types of music, but we're alt rock, indie rock fiends first and foremost. We pretty much review something in the rock category every other day, so if that's your vibe, subscribe. You'll definitely hear me talk about a band you love in an upcoming video and maybe find something new that you didn't yet know that you do love. Today we're talking about Bombay Bicycle Club. So when Bombay Bicycle Club first emerged around 07-08, I kind of, to be honest with you, very arrogantly avoided them. I wrote the North London band off as just another two-door cinema club or Foster the People, and it's ostensibly pop band with just enough quirky mid-noughties touches to give them some UK indie NME credibility. I'd actually heard from multiple people that they were in fact great and quite unique, and yet I held strong in my resistance and continued to pretty much ignore everything they did. Honestly, that all feels like 5 minutes ago, but doing some all-important Wikipedia research prior to this review, I've been a little depressed to learn, underlining just how much time has passed. The band have already gone through the rise and rise, released 4 albums, broke up in 2016, reunited in 2019, and now have released their second post-reunion record, and that record is My Big Day, the band's 6th album in total, released towards the end of October 2023. For fans of the band out there, don't worry, yes, I can say that I've definitely been proven wrong about the generic indie pop sound I was expecting. Although I will say there is one hallmark of the scene I did notice that rears its head from time to time. The 2000s we are over enunciation, that weird affectation like every white British singer seemed to put on in that era. That amusing gripe aside though, on My Big Day, Bombay Bicycle Club do effectively blend indie, folk and pop with an interesting splash of modern day neo-soul, neo-funk to create something that genuinely stands the band apart. That's not to say it's totally unique. I was reminded a few times on this record by lesser known quirky indie pop bands like Broncho and Childhood, who if you are fans of Bombay, I definitely recommend you check out. But nonetheless, the band have really carved out an interesting sound that totally flies in the face of those that may have just sought to write them off like me. Overall, I'd say the adventurous genre blending absolutely leads to an interesting sound with genuinely great production throughout, but I did find the songwriting a little hit or miss. At its best, My Big Day is captivating and engaging, and its worst, a bit bland and milquetoast. Sleepless, the collaboration with Jason, is a pretty good example of this. It has really nice produced guitar. It actually reminds me of a band called Deer Hunter. The duetted vocals between Jack Steadman and Jason are really pleasant, and there are some nice touches like a vocoder peppered in, and either like tin whistles or flutes. It's really unique instrumentation, and it's all put together really well, but just doesn't take off, aside from coming back around to that constant descending riff part. Equally, the title track My Big Day is arranged and produced in a really interesting way, with the heavily gated stop-start beat making for a listening experience that keeps you on the hook. The blasts of layered distorted guitar add a gritty texture to the otherwise clean tone of the song, which again, interesting, but I just feel an undercurrent of blandness, no danger, no tension, just pleasant nothing. On balance though, there are a handful of moments where the unique approach to production comes together with songwriting that's more dynamic and interesting to create some of the highlights on the album. For me, these moments seem to manifest when Steadman is pushing himself out of pleasant ambiguity and seemingly whipping himself up into a bit of a frenzy, as with the ominous and slightly weird I Want to Be Your Only Pet. Similarly, Meditate has a spring-loaded energy which is really fun, flipping between fuzzy and clean bass tones, which balanced with synth gives off some metronomy style vibes. This track has a long instrumental break with a tension-building ascending guitar riff, and as this crescendos, it again builds up the repeated vocal refrains, which are really gratifying. This track is a collaboration with Nilüfer Yanya, who is one of my favourite solo indie pop artists, and her vocal presence is really felt here and sounds great paired with Steadman. Collaborations are actually at the core of this album, with 5 of the 11 tracks featuring another artist. One of the largest of these, Damon Albarn, is also the one who makes the most sense on paper, being both an indie Britpop icon via Blur and an artist who notably kind of branched out into more electronic and pop styles in more recent times. But it's strange then that his feature is probably the most ill-fitting and I would say least successful on the record. Albarn's segment pops up unexpectedly in the midst of the track Heaven, which starts off as low-key bedroom pop until an awkward segue leads the listener into a depressing acoustic passage led by the Blur frontman that could well have come off of the band's latest very solemn album. On one hand, the unexpected left turn is inventive, but on the other, it's a pretty significant vibe killer that seems completely at odds with the rest of the entire record. This particular collaboration screams of one that took place remotely, and when I first heard it I can almost imagine the Bombay guys eagerly gathered around their laptop upon receiving the stems via email, only to be perplexed at the complete 180 direction Albarn went with his contribution. The band graciously makes space for the songwriting legend and managed to somewhat get away with it, but I still think it sticks out like a sore thumb. In complete contrast to that, we then have a collaboration with Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan? Chaka Khan. I had to do way more than a double take when I saw this in the track list. The Queen of Funk, Chaka Khan, singer of one of the ultimate bangers of the entire universe, Ain't Nobody, is on a Bombay Bicycle Club album on a song called Tekken 2. This is quite possibly on paper the most bizarre combination of things, and yet it's far and away the best track on the album. I have no idea how this collab came about and would kill to have been in the room when someone, assumably, had to kind of explain what the hell Tekken is to Chaka, who is now 70, and I could be completely wrong, but does not strike me as someone with a penchant for early 2000s beat-em-up arcade games. The track has a great reoccurring synth riff that could well have come out from one of those legendary games, like kind of tropical themed settings, which is coupled with a classic 80s funk beat and one of the most glorious choruses on the album that builds and builds with each go round. The way the lyrics kind of use the theme of needing a multiplayer partner for an arcade game as a metaphor for love actually works, and then you get the awesome Chaka Khan vocals on the climax and the bridge. This is a banger, although it somewhat lives in the shadow of that pastiche 80s funk soul pop epic. The Holly Humberstone collaboration, also diving, follows and is another highlight. The guitar loop is really infectious and the chorus super cathartic. The album then closes proper with Onward, which brings things back to the middle of the road, with some of the most egregious examples of mid-noughties indie affectation on the vocals in the verse. Overall, this album on one hand kind of completely blew my preconceived notions out the water, while in some respects fully cementing them. I think the production is consistently gripping, but the songwriting far less so. There are flashes of brilliance, but also a lot of very bland milquetoast segments. This, I would give a 5.8. Enough faff from me though, what did you think? Are you all about the Bicycle Club? Let me know, I really want to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe, share some thoughts, show some love, or just hurl some abuse in the comments, and check out some other videos in the description, linked below, that you might like, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers mate, bye.